What's good, Wizards fans? We're going to talk about an update from Jake Fisher in the Washington Wizards GM search and also grade Corey Kispert's 2022 with 2023 season. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. The championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with the eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, so let's get started on the GM search. I'm gonna read the article here from Jake Fisher from The Athletic. So he talked about the lead change with John Thompson III, basically taking the lead with the search. So he says, quote, the Wizards have yet to begin the process of requesting permission to interview executives from other teams, sources said, end quote. Keep in mind the lottery is May 14th. The NBA draft is 6 weeks away, and John Thompson III is the acting GM for the time being. So what's your thoughts on that? Of course, remember Troy Halliburton came on, who, I called him Troy Houdini because he called it with Tommy Shepard's job being in jeopardy. So he kind of was like not Woj, but the big guy who was following. He's been following Brian Windhorst, where he put his fingers in the air. So that's what Troy kind of did with the prediction there. And he did say that the Wizards have interviewed Milt Newton, the assistant GM for the Milwaukee Bucks. So what are your thoughts about Jake Fisher's reports, and how alarming is that to you, or does it really move you at all?
I gotta be honest, man. It's slightly alarming because, like you said, draft lottery is coming up, man, and you kind of want your GM to be kind of implement himself into this franchise at this point. So it is a little alarming. I think they're kind of waiting. I'm hoping they're waiting on maybe what Golden State's got going on with, Bob Myers. But even then, if I'm an owner or if I'm responsible for talking to GMs, I got to kind of be a little birdie in somebody's ear and say, hey, look, man, we need a GM. So, they need to be a little more forthcoming with candidates because, look, time is of essence right now, because right now is the time when you need a GM to kind of start looking at prospects for the draft and whatnot. So to me, it's a little alarming because I think they need to kind of speed up the process. Now, obviously, with us being the only team that's searching for a GM, that is slightly an advantage. We're not so pressed, so we do have a little bit of time, but I kind of want to see some progress within the next couple of weeks, man. I really do, because like you said, draft is the time when you need that GM and whatever staff he has, whether he retains what they have now or he finds his own pieces. But we need a guy to come in and start doing his thing. So yeah, I'm slightly alarmed, but I think the only thing that really makes me feel better is the fact that we're not competing with any other team for GM. So that kind of helps us out.
Yeah, that is a good point, that we're the only team that is that has an open job for a GM. But at the same time, you brought up some good points, is urgency. I want them to move with urgency. The lottery is not far away. The draft is coming soon. You have to evaluate these players. You have to get a plan and some type of identity. The Wizards, they seem to drag their feet. I know when they took a long time to hire Tommy Shepard. They were like the last team to hire Wes Unseld Jr. when there was a lot of open spots. Like the Mavericks had an open head coach spot. The Magic had an open head coach spot. There was a lot of teams at that time when they fired Scott Brooks, and they just took so much time and they did so many interviews, and they ended up with Wes Unseld Jr. And then with the GM spot, the last time when they fired Ernie, they hired a search firm. They called 78 people. They just took so long, long of a time just to end up with Tommy Shepard. Now, if they are waiting for Bob Myers, which is basically the top candidate that everybody wants from the Warriors, you may have to wait a while, man. The Lakers, they're a good team. Of course, LeBron versus Steph is going to be a fun series, but right now the betting odds are that the Warriors are going to win that series. If they win that series, then you're going to have to wait another 2 weeks. You're going to really have to wait 2 weeks, because that series could go to Game 7, and that series could be a 7-game series. So now if you wait 2 more weeks from now, what's today? May second or third. So now it's May 15th, right at the lottery. And even if the Warriors do lose, okay, that might be the perfect spot because you get to see the lottery, you get to see your pick. And like Troy said, if we lose the lottery, we end up with pick 9 or pick 10 again. Is Bob Myers really like, oh, I'm banging on the door to come to the Wizards? But if we get pick 5 or 4 and we luck up, then maybe Bob Myers will be like, hey, we're just more, the Wizards are more of an attractive place. So they keep playing around with this. Now, if their plan really is to wait for Bob Myers, I understand it. But if that's not the day one, if that's not the realistic number one plan, then they're gonna end up. I'm not gonna say they're gonna end up doomed, but I just feel like it's kind of malpractice. I mean, Masai Ujiri, you hear reports about him. Of course, he's already available because the Raptors already lost. Trending Langdon, he's already available because the Pelicans already lost. So the only guy they could be waiting for. And it reminds me, I keep bringing up the Commanders again. I got my Commanders bucket hat on. When Ron Rivera waited for Eric Bieniemy, he conducted interviews, but he knew that he wanted Bieniemy. And of course, with the Chiefs, you just had to wait for the Super Bowl. Where as the Warriors, you may just have to wait for the finals to end because you can't talk to Bob Myers at this point because they're still playing games.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it really behooves them to really step up the process because, like I said, you need a GM and the staff to be right now at this point evaluating talent. They should already be evaluating talent right now. And like I said, I don't want us to be so dependent on the prospect of Bob Myers that we miss an opportunity on a candidate that could be a really good GM. Because I think Trajan Langdon out of New Orleans is a really good candidate, in my opinion. He's young. He shows that he can build a team. Newton, Milwaukee, I think is an option. But I think that don't put all your eggs in one basket, man. Don't sit around and wait for Bob Myers. Because like you said, we all know that DC is just not that destination right now that attracts a lot of big name talent, unfortunately. So, Bob Myers is not a given. So go out there and find a guy who can get the job done. And I think in the next couple of weeks, it really behooves Teleonsis to find his next GM, man, because like you said, you're gonna be waiting for a while for Bob Myers because Golden State, man, look, they got that magic. I mean, we really don't know how far they're gonna go. I mean, they got that pedigree, man. You cannot count out Golden State. So you very well could see them in the finals. So you just never know. So yeah, I think it really behooves them to, within this next couple of weeks, find your guy because you've got to start evaluating talent, man. Regardless if we have the 4th pick or the 9th pick, we need a guy who's going to find that next diamond in the rough because we have needs and we need a guy to come in and start evaluating. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it, man. I'm not too alarmed, but it's kind of like, hey, hurry up a little bit, because we're, it's getting close. So, I'm not alarmed yet, but they kind of got to pick up their feet a little bit. So that's where I'm at with it, man.
Yeah, and I trust Troy's reporting. I trust that they did interview Milton Newton. They may just be trying to keep it very quiet and not tell anybody. They're not trying to tell Woj. They're not trying to tell Shams, Sharania. They're not trying to tell Jake Fisher. Maybe they are not being truthful about the process right now with Jake Fisher. So that could be the case too. But like I said, I 100% trust Troy that they did interview Milton Newton. So if they're trying to keep it under wraps and surprise us, then, we'll see what happens. But we're going to move on to Corey Kispert here and give his grade. Before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. It's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you and never take a moment to think about what you need from yourself. You think about your friends, your kids, or if you have kids or buddies, whoever, and you're always thinking about them. You got to focus on yourself. You got to take that time to take a break and think about yourself. But when we spend all of our time giving, it can leave us feeling stretched thin and burnt out. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. All right, let's get started with Corey Kispert. So like we're going to do in our grade series like we did with Denny yesterday, one stat that stood out to you and, do we think he's going to be here after this season? And what does he need to improve on? What impresses? So we'll start off with what key stat stood out to you from Corey Kispert's 2022-2023 season.
Whoa, I'm gonna roll with a couple of them. Field goal percentage was 49.7% this season. 3-point percentage was 42.4. So his homeboy was shooting at a high clip. I mean, this year he showed that he's a shooter. He can shoot. He's got the ability to cut to the basket, and he's got that IQ. He has a little bit of hops. He has some athleticism. He's had a couple of dunks. He really showed out offensively this year. I was very impressed. Points per game, 11 a game. So scored more than Denny. I'm not trying to start nothing, but I'm just saying. Homeboy, he showed out, man. I like offensively. He looked good this year. Now we know what Corey is, man. He's a role guy who, if needed, he can plug and play and start. Now, is he a long-term option to start? I don't think so. Look, don't get me wrong. I love his game. If you look at shooters around the league, we were talking about before, man. McDermott's, Robinson out of Miami. These guys aren't cutting. They're not dunking on folk. They're kind of hanging out on the perimeter. Corey doesn't do that. He has enough basketball IQ to know when to cut. So no, I was very impressed this year with Corey, man, offensively. Now, what can he work on? Defensively, I think he can get better on the defensive end. Now, am I expecting him to ever be a lockdown guy? I don't think so. I really just be an average defender, I think would help out. So I like to see him kind of take steps forward on the defensive end. But again, that's not really his MO. Offensively, he did his job, and he's a good role player going forward. He's going to be much needed on this bench going forward. So yeah, man, those are the two stats I'm rolling with that really came out to me because he shot at a high level. He was really shooting the high level this year, and defenses, if you notice in the second half, they were starting to put a little pressure on him on the perimeter, man, because they knew that he's got that ability to knock those down those threes, man. So yeah, I'm gonna roll with those two stats.
I'm definitely those are some good stats. What stood out to me was the last 10 games of the 2023 season for Corey Kispert. Even though, is it sustainable? Once again, another guy. We talked about how Denny plays without Brad, without Kuz, but of course, who knows what the new GM is going to do. Are they going to? Of course, Brad is coming back, but are they going to bring back Kuz? Can Denny do what he did without Brad and Kuz when they come back? Can he sustain that? Now, same thing with Corey Kispert. Can he sustain what he did without Brad and Kuz next year when they come back? If Kuz comes back. Now, the last 10 games of the year, Bradley Beal's last game of the year was with the Orlando Magic. And after that, there was 10 games left in the season. Corey Kispert averaged in those last 10 games of the season, he averaged 18 points a game. Now, this is more than just one stat, but he averaged 18 points a game, 3 boards, and 1 assist in 10 games. So he went up from basically, like you said, averaging 11 points, went up to 18 points a game. He was fire from the three. The game that we went to against the Rockets, he literally played about 18 minutes and literally went in there and hit 5 threes against the Houston Rockets. I'm looking it up right now. He hit 5 threes in 18 minutes and had 18 points. Now that's a bad team, but it just shows you how quickly he could fill it up. He had 1 game against the Orlando Magic with 9 threes. He had 1 game against the Spurs with 6 threes. He had 1 game against the Toronto Raptors with 5 threes. And this is a part of the last 10 games of the season. So he hit 6, 5, 3, 9 threes, 4 threes, in a 6-game span. He hit at least 3 threes in a 6-game span. And then he hit 3 threes against Miami, the last game that we won, that we really should have lost for the lottery standings. And he had 19 points. He had 29 points against the Knicks and 27 points against the Orlando Magic. What impressed me the most in those last 10 games is that he was actually putting the ball on the floor, doing step backs, shimmying on people. He was doing stuff that, typically we just don't think about Corey Kispert doing. So I was impressed with that. I'm just we just don't see that when Brad and Kuz are out there. So, is he capable of doing that? Can he do that when they're there? But when they're not there, he's showcasing more of his skills and more of his bag. So it's we need these young guys like Corey and Denny to step up and do some of these things. And that's how they can make the playoffs. That's a way they can make the playoffs if those young guys do blossom and get better. But it's just been really tough for them to do that and kind of spread their wings at the same time and win games. But yeah, like you said, Corey shot the ball really, really well from the 3-point line. He improved in basically every shooting statistical category. 3-point percentage went up from 35 to 42% from his rookie season to his sophomore year. Field goal percentage, like you said, 49%. He almost had a 50-40-90 season. Free throw percentage 85% from the free throw line. 11 points. He averaged 8 points his rookie year. Went up to 11. Everything he basically improved on. So 74 games, 45 starts. I think, the knock on him, a lot of people think we should have drafted Trey Murphy out of the Pelicans with the Pelicans. But honestly, I'm not mad over that pick. I think Corey Kispert's still a good pick. Trey Murphy, he may still have more upside. He had a couple big games this year too. But I'm fine with the Corey Kispert pick. Is he limited on defense? Yes. Is he ever going to break his man down consistently? No. But he's a guy that can move around and knock down a three. And you need that around Brad. You need that around Kuz and Porzingis, guys that can open the floor. So I thought he had a good season this year.
Yeah, I mean, we can go over what we could have did and all that, but I should have put stock in Amazon like 20 years ago, man. I didn't. So it is what it is. But I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. I'm gonna say this: can they have these performances? And I'm talking about Corey Kispert and Denny Avia. Can they play like this when the solid three is playing? Because I think that's the difference. Because like you said, I think we both agree that both Corey Kispert and Denny Avia are high upside role guys, but that's the thing. If they can play this like this when you have the solid three off the court, come on. I mean, you're talking about a different team. You're talking about a potential playoff team. If you can get these type of performances from Kispert and Avia, like you said, with the solid three in the lineup, and maybe changing the rotation, this is a playoff team. Because like you said, Corey Kispert and even Denny Avia both took massive leaps forward. Now, obviously, they both have areas they need to work on, kind of both at opposite end of the spectrum. Obviously, Denny's more of the defensive guy that needs to work on the shot, whereas Kispert is more of the shooter that needs to work on his defense. So, I mean, that's my big expectation for these two, is working on those areas, and we could be a better team. And obviously, we don't know what the direction is yet, and, this is the thing, but Kispert just offensively, like you said, he was doing things you just didn't think he could do. He was starting to dunk on folk. I was like, hold up. So yeah, I was very impressed, man. Kispert, he took a massive leap forward from his rookie year, man. I mean, he offensively, he played really well this year. But yeah, my only knock against him is just defense, and then not just him. It's just and like I said, I'm not expecting him to be any kind of lockdown guy. I don't think that's ever going to be his game, but I would like to see him at least be an average defender. So that's where I'm at, man. He did well, and he was a really big bright spot for this team this year, man.
Yeah, he can certainly move without the ball. He's a guy that doesn't need the ball in his hands to be successful. Cutting to the basket, like you said, finishing. He's very athletic. He had a couple of nasty dunks that definitely got me out of my chair. And he's a really good finisher. So, like we talked about with Denny yesterday, where 3 to 10 feet away from the basket, Corey Kispert shot 53%. Denny shot 39%. So Corey Kispert, he just has a better knack of finishing around the rim. 0 to 3 feet away from the rim, which is basically like a layup or a floater. Corey Kispert shot 76%. Denny shot 71%, which is not too far off. So, I'm not going to knock Denny. Rui shot 80% from 0 to 3 feet away from the rim. So it just kind of gives you a sense of how these guys finish around the rim. And Corey Kispert, he's a really good finisher. So I guess we both agree on the improvement areas for him. Defense. He'll probably never be a lockdown defender. That's just not in his. That's just not part of his game. And if you drafted him to be a lockdown defender, then you basically failed at drafting. And that's Tommy Shepard's pick now. What does the new GM think of Corey coming in? What do you feel is going to happen this offseason? Do you think he's going to be used in a trade, or do you think he's more likely to be on this roster next year and then? I know it's 2 years down the road with his contract, so we don't have to really talk about it. But what do you see coming up for him this offseason and the 2024 season?
I mean, that's
for this season as well.
Oh, got you. No, that's a dope question, man. He's got to stick around. He's proven that he can plug and play, come in and start if need be. He can score. He can shoot at a high level. He's got the IQ. He can cut. He's got the athleticism. Now you got to keep him around, man. I think you definitely got to keep him around. And like you said, with the contract, he's got some time, but this is sophomore year, and look at the type of performance you get. I mean, he very well in his last year of his contract could average around 15. I mean, why not? Because he's proven he's that scorer. So yeah, you got to hold on to Kispert, man. His grade B+, easy. The defensive size reason I don't give him an A, but he had that good of a year to me because he filled his role as a role guy. He was a perfect role guy. You put him in the lineup, he can hit from the perimeter. It's just he did his job. Now, like I said, defense is a big reason why I didn't give him an A. But as far as looking at this team, this crazy year we had, man, he was a bright spot. Corey Kispert came in and he did his job, man. Very consistent. Here's the biggest thing: he was very consistent. he played consistent. He played within his role all year with a solid three was rolling. He was that role guy that can come in and hit perimeter. And then when we dealt with injuries, he came in and he started and did his job. So yeah, B+, easy.
Yeah, and I think he provides more than a guy like Davis Bertans, where he can do more. He can move without the ball. He can cut and do other things. And I think that's a big reason why they drafted Corey Kispert. So, I basically echo everything because Corey Kispert, his game is very simple. It's not as complex like Denny. Denny, he's got to have the ball in his hands. He's a good defender. So there's just more elements to his game where Corey's kind of like, you just got to knock down these threes for him to really be impactful and get playing time. But yeah, he's been an Iron Man. He's been a good player. I like what he said about when they asked him about tanking and whatnot. He was like, I can't get mad at the fans for that because they should have won those games when they had opportunities to win those games. So I like his answer. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Went to Gonzaga, been in a championship game in the NCAA. So he's definitely a professional for sure. But yeah, like I said, defense. Can he put effort on that side and knock down threes, move it out the ball? A la Duncan Robinson, Doug McDermott, Wesley Matthews, Ray Allen towards the end of his career. Of course, not the Ray Allen with the Bucks or the Celtics, but just being that shooter, that knockdown shooter, just being ready to knock down threes. So that's it. I give him about a B minus. And like you said, the defense really dings his grade. But offensively, I thought he shot the ball better as the season went along. He improved in every statistical category. So that's what I want to see from him. And his future is bright. Could he be used as a trade piece? I think his value, he doesn't have much value, but I could see him if they want to upgrade the point guard position. Maybe if they want to throw him in there, it's possible. But I would hang on to him. I would hang on to him for right now.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, we did a shout out to Jesus Shuttlesworth, man. Ray Allen.
I'm not comparing him. Like I said, I'm not saying
I know, right?
I'm just saying the three-point shooting towards the very end of Ray Allen's career.
No, absolutely. I totally agree. Towards the end of his career, especially with Miami, he was the shooter. He wasn't the Sonics Ray Allen where he was creating,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I totally agree, man. He has an element that, Robinson didn't have in Miami. He's athletic, he cuts, he doesn't hang around the perimeter the whole time. So no, I love what I saw from Kispert this year, man. So it's an easy B+. Like I said, the only reason I didn't make it an A is just because defensively, he can improve in that area. Now, like I said, I don't think neither one of us think he's ever going to be a lockdown guy. I don't think it's going to happen. But he definitely can be more active on the defensive end. So that's where I'm at with it, man.
Yeah. We're going to wrap it up here. Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Every day is tomorrow on the show. We're going to recap Daniel Gafford's 2023 season, and we may throw in Taj Gibson or another bench player in there. If Gafford was a starter, we'll just probably maybe just do the bigs as a whole, maybe Jay Huff in there too. But just want to thank you guys for listening, and make sure you guys subscribe, hit that notification bell.